Rebel's the noisiest of them all. Come on. Good boy. He's always, Rebel is always the noisy one. Come on, Pump. Good, Pump. All right, how about that? Hey, good Monday morning. Welcome to Ice Age TV. Wow, another beautiful day here. Yeah, beautiful. It is not too hot, not too cold, and it just really is a beautiful time of year here. We're kind of looking out to the summer coming to an end, where we're not getting punished. I get my barn. Nope, stay out. Gotta get my barn. It's so funny how these guys. Now get back. Come on, back. I know. Come on, get outside. Get outside. Wow, my dogs, all my dogs, it's funny, everybody just operates differently. My dogs have always been dogs. They can go 10, 12 hours of being in the home without crapping and pissing. I don't know. I mean, I know there are people out there that I think have a guilty conscience and go let your dog out every 5 or 6 hours, but my dogs always have been 10, 12-hour dogs. So I put these guys in last night about 10 o'clock. And now it's about 9 o'clock this morning. So that's an 11-hour, 11-hour run? And are they dying? Nope. I got a rock in my shoe. The Crocs. So funny how you're labeled if you wear the Crocs. If you wear the Crocs, you're an odd individual. Well, been on my channel long enough. You haven't figured that out yet? That the odd guy here on Ice Age TV? Yeah, that's me. As the shop gets trashed, these damn shoes. I mean, look at this. This is big ass rock that came into my shoe. How the hell to do that? Anyways, yeah. Woo! It's Monday morning. My left hearing aid battery has died. Hearing aids, they're a pain in the ass, everybody. They really are. The batteries are always dying. Yeah, the new generation are wireless, and you can put those. What the hell's wrong here? Just technology drives you nuts. Get up there, Will. Come on. Tango, where's Tang? Come on, Tang, get up there. Take that. No, stay here. Stay. Yes, the never-ending challenges of technology would drive you nutty. In the world we live in, even though I'm the guy that goes out and buys more technology, meaning I've got 3 phones, 2 watches, way too much technology. Here's something classic. So Mike over on Facebook, he alerts me that this doesn't need to be an FAA license. So for what I did yesterday to register this as a recreational user and take the FAA test, I didn't really even have to even do that. But I'll honestly say it was a good test and it was really good information. So I'm glad that I did take the test because I would have no clue. That in my own backyard, I'm right here on the no-fly zone because of the Leesburg Airport and the Washington Dulles International Airport as well. So it was good that I went through what I thought I had to go through. Because there's weight limits on how big the drone is that I guess the government feels is a threat that needs to be more monitored. So anyways, that was pretty funny. Mike reached out on Facebook. He's like, I just got my mini drone and I didn't have to even register it or take the test. I'm like, oh, wow. He basically got the same thing I got. All right, here we are at the Breakout. The Harley-Davidson Breakout. What a beautiful bike. I think of the Harley-Davidson line, I think that this is just the coolest retro-looking Harley-Davidson motorcycle that they've built, per se. Now, the Fat Bob's out as well. But I just think this has such the 1970s, 80s, the fork, the way the bike, the whole theme of the bike just makes me think this is like where the Harley came from, kind of from like my era, the chopper era. And it is such a cool motorcycle. And it is relatively comfortable for what it is. And with my new little bag in the back of it, it really does make it usable for me to be able to go out and go somewhere and have some fun. Haven't had my coffee yet, but now my coffee maker in my trailer is now my next problem. So now my next challenge is my coffee maker that I have, the little one, is now acting up on me, which that sucks, but I use it every day. You know, just to get the record straight, the camper was never about me being kicked out of my house, about my wife and I being in an argument. It was never about that. It was about my friend Chris and Shannon, who were going to Myrtle Beach. I mean, if you do a rewind on my channel, you'll remember this story. My good old friend Chris was looking to me to trailer his motorcycle down, and then me take my motorcycle down to Myrtle Beach and go to Myrtle Beach Bike Week, May of last year. And so he got me on this thought process of renting an RV and pulling my trailer, a motorcycle trailer, to Myrtle Beach and hanging out with him down there because he has a pulled trailer but not a toy hauler. And that was where it all started. And then I got pushed a different direction, and all of a sudden I'm on the page of just buying a camper toy hauler for myself to open the door up where I would go to Myrtle Beach. I was supposed to go to Myrtle Beach with him a year ago in May and take this down with my bike in the back, his bike in the back, and set up shop down there with him for the Myrtle Beach Bike Week. This is where this trailer came from. I think people are so confused. I get it now. If you're a well-known politician or a celebrity, you know, the conspiracy theories, they just go everywhere. Where people start making comments and people start listening to people's comments and they write off those comments. So it has nothing to do with anything to do with my wife and I's relationship. Nothing. Goose egg. Even the point I thought maybe I'd take this to Florida and spend some time down there with this, or go to Tennessee, blah, 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 blah. So it was never, ever intended for me to buy it and live in it. But once I bought it and I started hanging out in it, it was so much fun that I just felt like, you know what? And then I felt bad for my wife, who really didn't have as nice a back area that I had, that I felt like that could really become her back area. And so I raised my hand and gave up the back side of the house. And then she kind of really enjoys that and likes that. And I enjoy the camper. So just whatever, everybody. It just cracks me up on how people start wanting, your mind wanders on things that even make my mind wander. So to put the whole camper thing to bed, this has nothing to do with relationship. There's nothing to do with it. Now, is my wife the camper personality type? No. My wife would be the first to tell you she'd rather go somewhere and rent a hotel room and then go hang out at the park. All right, we're one less truck down with the race truck. It's gone. You saw that. And come on, no. Hey, Gypsy, no. Come on back here. And the next vehicle pickup is the Lightning, which the company gets that one. Who the hell knows those guys? What's going on there? No, come on back here. Don't do that. Come on back. And so, really is, everybody, thinning out the way that it really used to be in my life. I've always had 4, 5, 6 vehicles. I've always had that. I have a business to run, so some people are so funny. It's like, well, you should just have 2 vehicles. All right, well, do me a favor. Call my wife and tell her to give up her Grand Cherokee and go buy your own damn car. How do you think that's going to play out, everybody? Where my wife, her whole life, I'm not lying. My wife, for the most part, most of our life, has always had 2 cars to rotate the miles. So now to kind of finish up the whole camper theory, so now I'm back in the house. The reason I'm back in the house is because I'm very concerned about the well-being of the dogs being in the house by themselves while I'm out here in the camper and can't hear a damn thing. So I'm back in the house because with my wife being gone and traveling, and my wife, I think, is going to travel more as time goes on, I can be inside the home monitoring the dogs to know what's going on. I'm not going to be able to do that. Some of my channels will go, well, buy a baby camera and put it in the house, and you'll hear the dogs barking, and, you know, all the, like, oh, my God. just be unbelievable. So yeah, so I can live in the house, live in the camper, whatever. Am I gonna live in the camper again? Sure. I'll be back and forth. But for the moment, the house is where it is because there's nobody else here to manage the inside of the house. The kid isn't here anymore. So I was always asked about Julia, how's she doing? She's doing great. My wife and my mother-in-law went and spent time with them over the weekend. They had a fantastic time. They had a blast. My daughter's just begging me to come down there and spend the weekend with them. I'm like, well, when I can get somebody to stay home to take care of the dogs, which the wife will. We'll just rotate it. The wife will hang out for the weekend. I'll go down there. But the good news is the wife and mother-in-law went down there and they had a fantastic time. A beautiful family. And so all I know is my wife is very, very, very happy. And my wife says Julia is extremely happy and everything is really working out. And it's a great thing. Thank God. Because it wasn't that initial phase of the kid eloping, that was radical and that was stressful. So the good news is that's all working out. So now, what do we talk about on the never-ending Ice Age TV morning conversations? And what I thought about was Ronaldo's kind of spurred this in my life. And I'm kind of glad that Ronaldo's kind of keeps on bringing this conversation up. He's saying you should sue these car companies for what he feels like was really not professionalism and not the right things to do and blah, blah, blah. So, on that aspect, that's challenging even for me to say, oh yeah, right, I'm going to go sue the car dealerships and finance companies because they lent me money. So what I think, though, comes from that thought process is I think that the mob, Ronaldo really has maybe stepped back and kind of think things through. And if you really think about it, we have a mob. The mob is the car auto industry. It really is. If you really think about a business model of an industry that really controls the consumer, it's beyond believable. If you really step back and say to yourself, when you go to a car dealership, the first thing many people are intimidated with is the car salesman that has that pressure, has that, stance of trying to lure you in to buy something. And some people have a hard time saying no. That's why the internet sales are a big thing. That's why Tesla, in some ways, was a big thing. You didn't have to deal with a salesperson trying to lure you into buying something you don't need to buy. So if you really think about the car industry, the stages and how everything kind of comes together when you go to a car dealership, for some people, it's very intimidating. It's a very intimidating environment where you walk into a showroom and there's lots of salespeople standing around, or they're in the area and they'll come over and maybe nudge you if you need some help. And then you have the sales manager and you have the general manager, and so it's an environment that you feel kind of like suffocated because you're in their world. And in their world, it's like you're in a cage with all the sharks there wanting to eat you up because they want you to buy something. So just right there in the first stage of just getting a car, I can see why a lot of people are intimidated. And a lot of people won't go by themselves because they just feel like they're going to get manhandled and eaten alive if they don't know how to represent themselves. So on that stage one of buying a car, there's your first thing. It's a mob mentality just about. Second stage is, once you kind of go to you cross the bridge to buy the car, you're forced to sign a sales agreement before they'll really come to closure to start moving further. Well, before all that, they'll take you out and walk the lot and pick out a car and drive the car. And we all know that whole scenario. But once you get to the final decision making of buying the car, then it's a negotiation of the price. And then you don't know if you're really getting the deal like you think you should get the deal. And you go back and forth. And then finally the deal comes. And then the general sales manager comes over to the table and intimidates you even more to buy the car, even though you think that maybe you shouldn't buy the car. But the general sales manager puts the pressure on you, like the interrogation, and then finally gets you to get that hand that you're resentful in some way, but other ways you're getting ready to sign a document that you're not sure you want to do. But the general sales manager puts the screws to you, and you sign the document. So now you got a bill of sale, and you got a signed contract. Now you feel like you have no choice to buy the car. So now they run the financing, and the financing deal comes through, and they say everything's good, you're going to be great, and then they put you in the back room with a finance person. Now the finance person's usually dressed up in a nice suit, very professional looking, has that tone atmosphere, we're going to get this done, and then they start telling you all the numbers. Then you start questioning the numbers. Then the finance person starts getting the sales pitch in there as well. And then if something isn't going right, they call the salesperson into the finance office. And that person's hearing the story, what's going on. And if that's not good enough, then the general sales manager comes back into the finance office, and they're now putting the screws to the finance guy to get the damn deal done. And then the finance person's luring you, you got to get gap insurance, you got to get tire wheel protection, you got to get the maintenance program, you got to get the warranty, you got to get the protective coat on the car, blah, 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 blah. You got to bring your car to our dealership only to get it serviced if you want to, blah, 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 da, 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 da. Oh my gosh. Right? Come on, everybody. It's a mob mentality. Is anybody really stepping back and thinking this? It's a mob mentality business. So now, and the reason I say it's a mob mentality business because the dealership has everything to gain and nothing to lose. And I'm sure some dealer guys would argue with me on this, but I don't give a rat's ass. They have everything to gain, nothing to lose. Because the way the laws are in every state in this country, it protects the dealers more than the consumer. Yes. Your guys in Maryland, if you buy a used car, once you drive her off the lot, it's yours. You go to Maryland and you buy a used car. Once you drive that car off the lot and you keep it for that one night, it's yours. You can't return it the next day. Did you know that? Yeah, it's buy as is. I don't know what the laws are. I think there's 72-hour laws on new cars that you can return them and tear up the deal. I don't know. Each state does have some different laws. But the real story is the car dealership has nothing to lose. Once the bank transfers that money to pay for that car at the lower price than you paid for it, for the higher price that you paid for it, then they get their cash and get their money out of that deal. It's history. Meaning that a year from now, if our car gets repossessed, whenever, 6 months from now, 3 months, whatever it is, there's no recourse at dealership. So for the car dealership, they have a guaranteed sale of no recourse per se. And then for the big auto guys and big finance guys, it's the same story. Once you sign that document, there's legal documentation that's like writing a book, and that lengthy contracts of all the powers to be of what the finance company has and what you really don't have much of. When you sign that document, the finance companies have everything to go attack you if you don't complete the deal on paying the payments. In the vehicle, when it's sold, if they take it back on a repossession, you have to pay the difference. What a hell of a gig. This country is so screwed up, everybody. It's a mob. The auto industry controls you and I like never ever seen. They jack the prices all in the cars. They played the game during the pandemic. Be so lucky to get a car. If you get the car, you're going to pay through the ass to have the car. Every car dealership in town was behind the scenes, laughing their ass off on how they jacked the prices in these cars and people bought it and paid into it. The auto industry in general saw how the dealerships were jacking prices on cars. They followed the same tune. They jacked all the prices of their cars. Yes, because they saw the car dealerships were getting away with it and people would pay for it. And so the whole point here is it's a mob mentality. The big auto industry literally controls the pricing of the cars. And then you go to the used car market, the wholesale market, the auctions. Everything's in the mob mentality. But the biggest mob mentality is when you buy a car and finance it, the finance company has you by the balls. Yes. That they now have the right to do whatever they got to do to get the money out of you for you buying something. How is this fair? And the whole point of this conversation is you think it through. The repossession business is a hell of a gig. Because you have a lot of people involved. You got the repossession guy, then you get the lawyers involved. I mean, so you keep in mind that You get the auction guy, gets the car to go take it to auction. Auction makes the money. Then the wholesaler buys it, makes money because he buys it for dirt cheap to go sell it and get money out of it. So there's a lot of hands in the pie where the repossession business is a great gig. You heard the guy yesterday talking about how the voluntary versus involuntary repossessions is two different worlds and getting paid as the repossession guy. Yes, it's bad. And so if you think about it, why is this all going on? What if the government, some people here are like, oh, the government. What if the government decided to get more involved in the mob mentality and change the laws that say when a car dealership sells a car, if the loan goes bad or the deal goes bad, they're part of the problem. If the bank gives a loan to a person where the loan goes bad, they're part of the problem, where they got to take the loss. The consumer doesn't take the loss. The bank and the auto dealership take the loss. It would change this industry overnight very quickly. And what would change about it? It wouldn't be this never-ending burying negative monies of cars into the next car. It wouldn't be people go in and buy a $50,000 car and get away with just putting down the sales tax, administration fees. The whole industry would be dramatically changed. It would change the dynamics, and it would protect the consumers more so than ever. It would discipline the consumers more so than ever, and it would actually tame down the crazy-ass prices of the car manufacturers continue to raise their prices, because really what would need to be done is there should be a law that would require minimum 10% down on a $50,000 car. They just do like an incremental thing so that when the car is bought, there's a good amount of money being put down on it. And so if the car does go sour on the loan, that instead of the car still being owed 50 or 60 grand a year later, maybe the car is owed like $35,000 a year later. And if it goes to repossession, it's just a clean slate, because they get 30 to 35 for the car, and then the car dealership or the finance company won't be taking a hardship on the losses. And so that's it. Stop and think about it. Would a car dealership be jumping up and down to write a deal that they know they're going to be responsible for if it goes sour? That they know they've buried a person to a car that's way too much negative equity and they're putting like little to no money down? It would change the whole dynamics of the industry. It would be for the better. It really would. It would take away, but at the same time, the problem is the repossession companies, the tow truck guys, they'd be pissed. The auction guys would be pissed. There'd be a lot of variables that start to play out because of people are now more fiscal responsible of their finances. It also would tame down all this craziness of pricing on these very expensive vehicles. So it would put things more back in line. The housing industry in so many ways kind of did that. But realize it or not, when the government came in and had to rewrite the laws of how you can buy a house, in some ways they did that. They made it harder for you to buy a house because you really had to have proof of income. You did have to show money down on the home you're buying. So why doesn't that industry that had a huge fallout with the home industry, why doesn't the government follow that protocol and apply it to the car industry? Because the car industry is getting very expensive. We're not talking about $10,000, $20,000 vehicles anymore. We're talking about $50,000 transactions, $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 transactions. So it's a whole new ball game where there's a lot more money at stake, and more than ever, there's more money that's being negative money going into vehicles, because if you're the car addict, buys a car and gets rid of it once every year, you don't put a lot of money down, you're constantly rolling that negative equity, and you have to go for a bigger, more expensive car to absorb that negative equity. So you're not going to buy a $20,000 car and bury 10 grand negative equity in it. You're going to have to buy a $50,000 or $60,000 car to bury 10 grand negative equity. And it's very simple and very easy when you buy a car for 10 grand to disappear in the value of that car instantly. In today's world, it's probably more like average of 15 to 20 grand loss of vehicle value on these $50,000 plus cars. Now, Bob in Melbourne made a comment, that these cars are known for depreciation. Yes, exactly. Well said. the industry knows when you buy a brand new car, it takes a big depreciation hit. So there you go. That should justify laws being written that state that there should be a minimum of 10%, if not a 20% down payment required on vehicles. And like I say, have a sliding scale. Have a sliding scale. $30,000 car, there should be, say, to be compassionate, should be 15% down. $40,000 car should be at least 20% down. $50,000 car, 20% would probably be maybe 25% in that scenario. So there should kind of be a sliding scale, because of a $50,000 car is going to probably be worth about 35 to 38 after you buy it. So I think, so once again, it's the mob mentality. The car industry literally runs this country. The amount of money the car industry brings to the states, taxes, the infrastructure, it's massive. And all these dealers and dealer associations, they're in with all the local politicians. They're in with the big bodies of political powers to be. And Big Auto is in with politics. Big Auto is in with the auto workers, the unions, I should say. So there's a lot of powerful people behind the scenes that would fight this tooth and nail, what I'm talking about. They would fight it tooth and nail of me saying, hey, there needs to be, the whole auto industry needs to be clean the slate and start over and make it where it doesn't do so much financial hardships to so many people. You're hearing through my channel that it's just not me. I mean, today, if you think about it, there's hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people today throughout the country that are having their car taken away because they can't afford to pay for it. And why is that? Well, we know it's fiscal responsibility. There's lots of variables to it. But also it's the mob mentality of the dealership did get another deal, or a dealership convinced and persuaded somebody to buy a vehicle that they really didn't need to buy, and they're part of the problem. So it cracks me up when people say, I'm the problem. No. A lot of people are part of the problem. The auto industry is the problem, everybody. It's the mob mentality. That's the reality. Now, here's something to wrap it up that really irritates me. Yesterday, I saw in my Equifax credit report that Harley-Davidson has put down an involuntary repossession surrender. And I'm like, what is this all about? I called Harley. I diplomatically told them a voluntary surrender. I'm not going to hide the bike or make it a hard time for you to come get it. The first time we tried to come get it, they got it. And what's really interesting, even the tow truck guy that came, a repo guy, even he reached out when we were there talking, and even he talked about how he only takes the voluntary repossessions. So I have it on camera that he said on camera that he takes a voluntary repossession. He doesn't like the involuntary ones. So here he has the documentation. Right, says here, surrendering bike. Does it say surrendering bike? Or does it say not surrendering bike? Right. So this is the order repossess. So this is the information on Harley. Now you go to my Equifax credit report, and if I can find it, involuntary repossession from Harley-Davidson Financial. How is that fair? How is that fair? So that will make it look like a person looks at my credit report, not like it's screwed to the max, but it gives the impression that I'm not the nicest guy to deal with, and I'll do devious things to get things my way instead of your way. So is that ridiculous? It's Harley-Davidson Financial. So somebody in the back end has deliberately marked me as a person, as a problem, when it's like, no, Harley, you're the problem. You're the problem. You're selling motorcycles that have no value after you buy one. That's the reality. So anyways, that's it. I got to wrap it up. I got to get Brian to work. The morning's passing. Got to get my morning coffee. So hope you enjoy the talk. But yes, the auto industry is the mob. It's the mob. And I'm sure anybody here that's on my channel, it's a car salesman, a general manager, they don't want to hear this. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear what I'm saying is the facts. But they know deep down that what I'm saying is factual. Of how many people show up at their dealership And the mob mentality is how they get the deals done. And once again, it's a beautiful thing for them. There's no recourse. There's no recourse for a dealership that sells a car for a person they really can't afford. There's no recourse per se for the bank. I mean, the bank really takes more. The bank's taking the hit more than the dealership. The dealership, I mean, what a gig. And that's why Jimmy Coons, all these big automotive owners of these businesses are worth billions of dollars, everybody. They're making billions of dollars because they don't have to take back losses on deals they've done that go sour. It's a hell of a gig, everybody. Wow. And you know what? Every big auto executive I know that owns these car dealerships in this area, they are mega, mega rich. Jimmy Coons, that guy walked away with billions of dollars. Billions. You can go through the list of how many big auto people that own 2, 3, 4, 5 car dealerships, how rich they are. And why? Because they're part of the mob. Have you ever heard of the mob going broke? Huh. God bless.